Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to you all in PNG and in Australia. We're delighted to have everyone here this afternoon for this phase 2 launch and bringing our 12 schools together, those that are able to join us from Australia and in PNG. Thank you that you can make it, and probably a few other schools are still struggling with connectivity and they may join us later on. So thank you all. We will begin this afternoon by acknowledgement of country by a young man from one of the schools in Australia, St. Paul's, Graham Griffith, a Dunguti boy, who is going to do the acknowledgement of country.
Welcome to St. Paul's Catholic College in the beautiful Macleay Valley, which is situated on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia. I'm going to introduce you to Graham Griffin, who's a Year 8 student at our college, who is going to deliver the Welcome to Country for us.
My name is Graham Griffin, and I'm a Dungari man. Bidwa Marun, Dungai Nuai, Megan the Nun. Dungari Guten Barditin. Nina Bibifa, Nina Buwara Buku. Bundunakai, Malamagu. Dungu Barditin. Danai, Maria, Baria Ditnda. Manbu. Good morning. My name is Graham. How be you all? Dungari belong to this country. Our river, our plains and hills, from the mountains to the coast. Thank you.
Maranga Dangati Kutum Badi Ditin Ninambu Bitka Ninambu Wara Wa Buku Bandunakai Mungan Mungu Dangati Kutum Badi Ditin Dangu Badi Ditin and Danang Maranga Baria Ditinja. Maranga.
Thank you very much, Graham and St. Paul's, for that beautiful acknowledgement. We will now call on St. Mary's Asitavi to lead us with the opening prayer. It will be done by the principal for Asitavi Secondary School, Mrs. Elaine Barris. All right, I think Elaine is not here, so we will begin and I'll lead us with a word of prayer this afternoon. Let's bow our heads and prayer wherever we are. Gracious and loving Father, we thank you that we can gather again here this afternoon. We thank you for all that has happened throughout the pandemic period, for your blessings and your grace and your protection in keeping us safe until now that we are able to meet again. Thank you for your grace, your love and your mercy that is more than sufficient. Thank you for the schools, the teachers and the students, the facilitators, and the 2 countries upon which we're able to work from, the land that you have blessed us with, and the environment that we are able to enjoy. We thank you. for the friendship and the partnership that we continue to forge on in building our two nations together. We thank you. We can only ask you for your guidance, your wisdom, and your lordship as we forge this phase 2 program of our activities in 2022. And Father, as we begin this next phase, we pray that your continuous blessing, protection, and leadership with your wisdom and knowledge will guide us through in everything that we do. We thank you for the facilitators who will be spending time with us, the teams from Australia and Papua New Guinea. Father, we pray that you will continue to embrace, enlighten, and strengthen, inspire us throughout the journey, regardless of the challenges that we may face. Father, we pray and believe that you will take us through with your strength and inspiration. Because God, we have faith that in you we can do all things, because all things are possible through you. And so, Father, we pray and commit this afternoon, the days, the weeks, and the months ahead into your hands. And we continue to trust that you will inspire us with your strength, your wisdom, and understanding as we forge on. And this is our humble prayer we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'd like to also this afternoon acknowledge the hardworking teams from Australia and in Papua New Guinea that we will be behind all the activities that will be happening throughout. From the Australian Awards team, we have Aaron O'Shaughnessy, Junior Muke, and Hai. From the Education Asia Education Foundation, we have Jen Starr, Sophie Hewitt, and Nicole Rashford, and Emmeline Gilligan. We also have with us Kathy Kirby, who has been working with us since the beginning with our education specialist, and Anna Antonievich from Deeper Futures. So thank you, team, and we look forward to all the work that we will continue to be behind the scene with the teams in our schools. So our phase 2 launches 4 main intentions. We are here to celebrate the initiative and the commencement of phase 2. And throughout this afternoon, we will be introducing the different activities, the structures and the expectations of what we want to achieve in phase 2. Also, we would like to re-energize the Australian and PNG students and teachers. So we are very happy that you are able to come on board this afternoon. And number 3, outline the 2022 Term 1 activities. And fourthly, we would also like to introduce the first collaborative activity, which is the Foto Friendships or Poro Piksa in Tokpising. We are delighted that we can have this afternoon with us Miriam Kamaso from the Australian High Commission, who is the manager, the program manager with education and leadership. And also we have with us also this afternoon, Mr. Benny Rayapan and Martha Maruse with the National Department of Education. Mr. Rayapan will also be saying something later on, and Miriam Kamaso from the Australian High Commission. We are also glad that the Australian volunteers are with us here this afternoon. Thank you that you can make it and to be with us here this afternoon. Thank you. So I'll now hand over to Miriam Kamaso, who will do the welcome remarks. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I have the big screen on one side and I'm looking at you guys from another place. So bear with me if I do not look at you directly and look at the screen as well to see everyone. This afternoon, it's a pleasure to be here with everyone. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge if you have students in the room as well. Thank you for teachers, the principals from both PNG and Australian schools, our National Department of Education representatives, Mr. Benny Ryan and Mata Maruse. If there are provincial education officials as well online, thank you for joining the session. Our workshop facilitators and the volunteers that are online. I'm very pleased to be here with you all, virtually joining you all this afternoon from wherever you are, to mark the beginning of past 2022 activities. Unfortunately, we are all unable to meet physically, but we hope that in the near future we can all be able to physically meet and strengthen the school partnerships that have already been forged since 2019. It is also good to see the 12 PNG schools successfully connecting, some of them today, using the internet that has been provided through the PASS program. We hope this will also enable you to continue to connect strongly with your Australian partners and to be able to also access resources more readily. The past 2 years for every one of us has been challenging, with COVID changing the way of life and how we do things, but we have seen that the schools have really shown resilience and come up, and you have completed your school academic year successfully in 2020, 2021, and now you are starting the 2022 academic year. We applaud your efforts to continue to join PASS for the next 2 years, and we hope that it will be a worthwhile journey for you all. As you may have already known, some of you have been contacted last year for a recent review to our HDMS teams. The review found that the initiative, through the challenges, still made it to the end of the phase 1 in September of 2021. So we recognize the impacts that the initiative had on each participant, the schools, the community around the schools, the education authorities, and the school partnership itself. So for us, seeing the teachers sharing their quiet skills with their nearby school communities have shown that PASS is really progressing, and we are excited to see the changes that teachers, students, our education officials have gone through. An example that we talk about is PASS National School of Excellence, who have really shown, the teachers have really gone out of their way in 2020 to do an in-service with their nearby schools. This is a success story for teachers who have come through the PASS as well. We also heard about Pauline Subi and the teachers up in Ayura conducting a workshop for a nearby primary school in 2021, and also translating some of the materials to Top 15 for the women, local women group. This is a really good example of how PASS is contributing to building teachers' capacity as well, to be agents of change in their schools and the community. We also recognize the efforts put in by students during the first phase, where all 24 PNG schools and Australian schools have come together to develop the COVID awareness messages through videos, songs, poems. And the messages did not reach only your school community, but it went out publicly through the social media platforms, and for PNG using the local radio and television stations as well. So these messages of hope, safety, and reassurance show the true spirit of friendship and collaboration between the schools and our country during a trying time where the global community was hit by the pandemic. So I have a lot of outcomes that I would like to celebrate with you all, but I know that the 318 participants that have gone before you will have their own experiences and lessons that they would want to share as well. As we move into the new phase of PASS from since October 2021 up until June 2023, PASS will continue to work on building the students and teachers' leadership capabilities, provide STEM support to our PNG Department of Education, and continue to strengthen the relationship between PNG and Australia. And we hope there is opportunity in the coming months for the schools to be able to meet physically and strengthen that relationship. For us, the core focus of this initiative is investing in quality education system and our people-to-people links so that it strengthens the friendship today and into the next generation. We would like to congratulate the 2022 participants on your selection to be part of this initiative. I'm sure your participation will reap many educational opportunities and lifelong friendships between our countries. And we are delighted to see that we have a lot of women here as well, because one of the focus of us is to encourage our women and girls leadership as well. So this is a fundamental part of our program as well. So we encourage you all today to make the most of your engagement with us as the next generation of leaders and change makers. You have a wonderful opportunity to make a positive contribution to your school, the province, the community, your families, and even the country when possible. So from the Australian High Commission team, we wish you all the very best for a successful and a memorable experience as part of the Papua New Guinea Australia Partnership Secondary Schools initiative. You all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. So I'll hand over now to Mr. Benny Rayapan, who is the Director for the Secondary Education and Management and Coordination Division with the General Education Services at the National Department of Education. Mr. Benny Rayapan.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, team. Very good afternoon to all of you from PNG. And we are very happy to join and see you all on the screen and after a long time. And thank you to all the team leaders who are actively participating and helping and implementing this program. The department is very happy and with the partnership program. Though we didn't give up with the pandemic, we thought we lost somewhere along the line, but kept us going. Online, offline, some connectivity still going on. Thank you very much. There are 12 schools. We started with that and 2 years successfully completed. Thank you to all the people who are running the program and the team in PNG in country and the other visitors who came during the pandemic, visited all the schools and carried out a lot of program. Particularly, there are 8 schools who have been covered with so many new skills and given more information and leadership training and STEM program assistance. And these are all very significant things that's happening in our country. And there are 4 more schools that will probably happen in the coming weeks. Thank you to those teams that's returning back. Possibly the border is open and we can have some free, quarantine-free program. So this, when we look at all those skills like digital skills, cyber safety and policies and drilled into the schools and children, and some of the schools are now embedded with the leadership training, leading, and it's more important. And we also see some of our schools are taking active participation as a leader in a cluster group leadership. And hopefully these schools will, like a focus point in the districts or in the provinces. And we are very much thankful to this program. And as we are now beginning this phase 2, we're looking forward to see a new information and new training and more people and more connectivity. And thank you to all of you for continuing to be part of the program, and the department is very grateful and will carry more of our messages from here this activity and will inform our secretary and all our TMT members in the division. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Thank you very much, Mr. Rayapan. You've been such a strong supporter of the PNGAus Secondary School program since we started some 3 years ago. It's really appreciated. And thank you so much to Miriam from the Australian High Commission. You've also been committed to us from the long term, from the very beginning. So we really appreciate it. Well, welcome everyone. It's so excellent to see you all here today. We've been missing you. This is pretty exciting. And a very special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time today. That's even more exciting. Well, we've started off with our formal acknowledgements and openings and excellent messages from both the Australian High Commission and the National Department of Education. So now we thought it's about time we got together a bit closer. So we're going to take 10 minutes in a breakout group, getting into smaller groups so that we can just have a little bit of a chat to each other. Now, in a minute, if you've got a laptop, if you're in charge of your laptop, you're going to be asked to join a breakout room. So you just have to press join now. We know that some of you are in a school group already, and some of you are there by yourselves. You'll all be joining others from PNG and Australia. So here's what we'd like you to do when we get into the breakout room. So there's a key question. It's what could make school even better this year? School would be even better if. So if you're in a group or if you're by yourself, we want you to take a couple of minutes to think about that. If you're in a group, you might want to brainstorm it. Different people can throw in an idea. And at the end of about 3 minutes, we want you to have 3 ideas that you want to put on the table. So if you're in a group, that's 3 ideas per group. And if you're an individual, that's even better for you because you get to say your whole 3 ideas. So we'll then go around the room and share what we think about that. And you'll just have sort of 1 or 2 minutes to share your ideas. Just really want to come together so we can speak to each other rather than be as formal as we have so far. So here we go. You're going to be asked on your computer screen, there's a message that's going to come up to say join a breakup group now. When you see it, do press it. And if you have any problems when you get there, just return to the main room. So have fun and see you in 10 minutes time.
Okay, thanks everyone. And it's great to see some familiar faces from schools both in Australia and PNG joining us today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about phase 2, which is the 2021 to 2023 component of PASS. Oops. And just to give you a bit of an overview, and I know we heard from Miriam Kamoso from the High Commission a little bit earlier, who indicated that there was a review of PASS late last year, and I know some of you were interviewed for that. And as part of that review, there were some refinements made both to the goal and what we call our end of program outcomes, which essentially are our aims of what we want to achieve as part of delivering the program over the next 18 months to 2 years. So the end of program outcomes for the next phase of PASS, which is what we're all going to be working on between now and middle of 2023, have been purposed specifically around building leadership and student-centred learning for improved educational outcomes, supporting an enhanced STEM curriculum and teaching practice, and in particular that's tied to some of the work that the National Department of Education in PNG is doing around their Year 11 and 12 STEM curriculum, and also continuing to create and establish and fortify positive relationships and understanding between PNG and Australia. Each of these end of program outcomes will have a key set of activities that support their achievement over the course of this phase 2. And those activities will be there for all schools to participate in. So for end of program outcome 1, we have a range of tailored teaching and learning activities that will be available for schools, ranging from STEM focused, English, media literacy, disability awareness, preventing sexual exploitation and harassment, and a range of other ones which Kathy will talk about after my session. We'll also have a range of engaging collaborative school projects, so building on those that we undertook in phase 1, such as Talk Story, Belong You Me, and the COVID story one we did also. We'll also be working with schools in PNG to run Lead Learning, and that will be focused on supporting improvement cultures in schools. And we have Anna arriving up on Saturday to finish the 4 Highland schools over the next month. And then obviously the other thing we wanted to continue to do is build communities of practice, both between our Australian and PNG schools, but also with schools across our communities. And in particular for our PNG schools, working with neighbouring cluster schools to support the teacher capacity development in each of the 12 provinces. End of program outcome 2, as I mentioned, is focused on our STEM approach, and that will be including reviewing the Year 11 and 12 draft STEM curriculum for NDOE and providing constructive feedback to support them in their delivery of this, building understanding of STEM across all of the PNG schools, and also strengthening teacher STEM capabilities. For some of you in Australia, you may be aware that the national high schools have been renamed National Schools of Excellence, and they will be taking on a STEM focus in terms of their teaching and learning activities moving forward beyond 2022. The third end of program outcome obviously includes us designing all of the activities that actively engage our partner schools, both in PNG and Australia, to learn and to work together, and the activities that we'll talk about later in this webinar will highlight some of that. Also around celebrating our outcomes of the PNGAus Partnership Secondary Schools program, and we also aim to generate some media as well to make sure that we can profile to both the PNG and Australian broader communities the work that we're doing in both countries. Underpinning all of this, as you can see from the slide, is we have our learning bank, which is also our PASS website. There's a range of resources there, and all of the materials that we offered in phase 1 and those that are being offered in phase 2 will be housed there for access for all schools at any time. In terms of participation, some schools in PNG in particular will be aware that we've approached you to nominate a key set of participants in each of your schools, ranging from school leaders to teachers and students. And we're asking you to nominate those teachers or individuals, students and school leaders, so that we can utilise them as part of our monitoring and evaluation processes. And they're just our key target participants that we will use to report against our program outcomes that I've just talked about. What that means, it doesn't mean that only those people can participate in the activities. The activities that we're offering are open to everyone in all of the schools that are participating. It's just that we will target our M&E, or our monitoring and evaluation work, with those individuals and map them over the next 18 months. For those individuals, we will be asking them to have some minimum participation requirements in the activities that we offer, and that'll be explained individually to all of the schools over the coming weeks. But broadly, it's on average 1 activity a term, and we'll work with each of those schools as well to roll out our survey data collection, which this year we're minimising it and making it a bit more concise. There'll be 3 sort of touch points, what we're calling our baseline, midline and endline survey. All schools will be asked to fill out their baseline survey in the coming weeks. Midline will happen in term 3, and then endline will happen in February, March 2023. And the survey that will be part of that and focus groups will be essentially the same survey, and we're just mapping your progress along a continuum of terms of outcomes. And there'll be rubrics and capability ladders built into those tools to support us in showing impact that PASS has had on both our Australian and PNG schools. So that's just a very high level and probably a little bit of a programmatic update. But I think the more exciting stuff is the activities that are going to be on offer over the next period. So I'll hand over to Kathy now to talk further through some of the activities that are going to be offered between now and next year. Thank you, Kathy.
That's fantastic, Aaron. Thank you. It's really great for everyone to be able to understand what our end of program goals are for PASS, and I think that you've made it very clear. So as Aaron said, over 2022 and term 1 of 2023, we want to build on the truly excellent work and learning that all of your schools participated in the last 3 years in PASS Phase 1. And our team here in Australia and in PNG are always so impressed at the talent and enthusiasm and commitment that your school teams have demonstrated in past activities. And it's truly an honour to work with you all. We're really excited about this next 2-year period. So Phase 2 of PASS is going to provide the opportunity for school teams to participate in a range of learning activities. There'll be 3 professional learning activities for educators over the next year, 4 learning activities for students, 8 collaborative school projects, and there'll be 24 new resources put on the Learning Bank. And if you've never looked at the Learning Bank, if you're new to the program, please do so, because there's lots of really excellent curriculum and professional learning resources there. So we're going to speak about each of those activities in a moment following this. You'll see that the focus of the activities is very much on STEM, including science, technology, engineering and maths teachers and students. But importantly, most activities are also multidisciplinary. And that's what STEM is like too. It includes a lot of learning domains. So our program provides significant opportunities to develop English, geography, and social science curriculum and student learning areas in particular. So please, all teachers, think about what you might participate in. We're keen to see teachers and their students from all of these learning areas in your schools become involved in 2022. All activities focus on developing leadership, both students and teachers and school leaders, student voice and agency, inclusion of all learners, and the general learning capabilities required by everyone to thrive in the future that PASS has focused on since we started, like collaboration and teamwork, critical thinking, creativity, intercultural understanding, ethical understanding, and of course, digital skills. Capabilities that each and every one of us need for the future. The PASS activities in this next phase have been specifically designed to meet the Australian Institute of Teaching and School Leadership professional standards for teachers and school leaders. They've been designed to meet the goals of the PNG National Education Plan and pay attention to SLIP plans and school frameworks, quality frameworks. And we've ensured that the activities will support PNG and Australian curriculum. Most of all, we've designed a suite of activities that are highly relevant to the world today in PNG, in Australia, and relevant to people globally. Focus areas like STEM, climate resilience, health, well-being, equality, critical thinking, creativity, intercultural understanding, and ensuring that everyone leaves school with good digital skills to communicate with each other and the world and position all of our students and our countries for the future. Central to this, we want to support you all to get to know each other better because we're close neighbours. PNG and Australia have much to learn from each other and we really look forward to that. We think we've designed activities that will be exciting, relevant, challenging, and achieve the learning outcomes that our national curriculums demand. There are activities across the year, starting today with Foto Friendships. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the activities distributed across the year. So those red blocks are teacher and school leader professional learning programs spread across this year and into term 1 next year. The 4 yellow blocks are activities for students who will obviously be supported by their teachers too. And the 8 blue blocks are collaborative activities for schools across PNG and Australia. And you can participate either with your partner school or in small groups or individually. There's plenty of activities to choose from, and participation will occur across your school team. So some people will be doing some things, others will be doing other things. That makes it exciting, I think. So Jen Starr and Anna Antanagievich, oops, sorry, Anna, I should have just said Anna. Let's hear about the opportunities for educators' professional learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. The first educator professional learning activity that I'm going to introduce is the Effective Learning Sprints that will be run in term 1 of this year. In this activity, PNG and Australian teachers will work together to explore innovative classroom practices for effective teaching and learning using a rapid action research approach. The focus of this activity will be how to better engage girls in STEM, and it's specifically targeted at science, maths, and technology teachers. The program is delivered by Tom Barrett and is supported by the Girls in STEM Toolkit developed by Education Services Australia. As a teacher myself, I know just how much work teachers are required to do in their everyday life. And rather than being an add-on that you have to do on top of your already full schedule, this educator activity has been specifically designed to allow you to improve your practice within your classroom and everyday routine. Australian teachers, you should take note because it's aligned to the AFTRS professional standards, and PNG teachers, it supports the delivery of the new STEM curriculum. So it's definitely not something you should miss. The second educator activity that I'm going to introduce is Shark Tank. This program will be conducted in term 1 of 2023 and is an action learning program that develops the future skills of entrepreneurial thinking and mindset. It is focused on how we work as a team, collaborate with others, develop interpersonal skills, collect, analyze, and use data, and develop problem-solving techniques. While it supports the new PNG STEM curriculum, it is open to teachers of all learning areas. We often see that the soft skills of entrepreneurial, creative, and critical thinking as an add-on to our already full curriculum that we as teachers have to teach. This activity is particularly valuable because it works to integrate these skills into the curriculum through an action or project-based learning curriculum. Again, Australian teachers, it is aligned to the AFTRS professional standards, so it's valuable professional learning hours for you. And as I said earlier, for our teachers in PNG, it does support the delivery of the new STEM curriculum. So a highly valuable experience for everyone all around. I'm now going to pass to Anna to tell you a little bit about the last learning activity for teachers, or Leader Mary.
Thanks, Jen, and Abinoon Olgeta. The All Women Lead, or All Leader Mary, is building on Abinoon. It's building on some of the work that we had done together as an All Leader Mary team last year. However, last year we were working 100% online, and we were really digging into some of what it means to be a woman leading in our education spaces. This year, we're going to have the opportunity to bring that Women's Educational Leadership Network together, and we're going to increase the focus on participants' capacity to co-design and lead initiatives that promote opportunities for women in education. Part of that will be focused in on enhancing digital literacy and online collaboration, which we're all experts at now. We've had 18 months of it, and it's incredible to see how far everybody's come. And that final aspect is we're going to really be focused in on how we build confidence as a network of women to lead improvement initiatives, not just within your school, but maybe what that looks like across your communities or across our partnership schools or as a cluster in your province. So we will be kicking that one off in term 3. And we will be updating you with a little bit more information as term 3 approaches. But looking forward to working with all of the boss Marys again. It was so fantastic last year. Thanks, Jen.
Okay, well, Anna, perhaps I'll come in here and start talking about the student learning activities. Okay, there's 4 of them over this year. Now, we've spoken a little bit about the first one, the Girls in STEM, and that's going to be integrated with the effective learning sprints that Jen just spoke about in the Educator Professional Learning Program. So girls, get interested in being involved in that. In term 2, we're going to do something that students around the world are doing and people around the world are doing. They're becoming citizen scientists. We're going to be partnering with Zoos Victoria in Australia and Port Moresby Nature Park in PNG. We're going to have the opportunity to learn how to contribute data and analysis to real-world scientific investigations focused on a local issue of significance. Citizen scientists is a really great way to develop youth leadership, global awareness and student agency. And importantly for PNG, it supports the new Year 11 STEM curriculum in biology, including ecology, ornithology and biodiversity, because our focus is going to be a big global movement that's looking at bird conservation. So people savvy or citizen scientists, watch out. We are all going to be changing the world there. In term 3, there'll also be an opportunity to do digital clubs, Bung Belong technology. And PNG and Australian Year 9 to 11 students will work with Jim Sill from Deploy Learning in Australia to collaborate and address a technology-related issue of shared concern. The digital clubs will build up digital skills. They'll strengthen English proficiency because you're going to be working in PNG and Australia teams, and build communication and intercultural capabilities. The clubs will support the PNG Year 11 STEM curriculum in technology and engineering, and also support e-safety practices in schools, which we've talked about quite a lot in phase 1 of PASS. And all schools now have a policy, and this will support their policy. In term 3, we're going to have the Virtual Science School, a course offered by John Monash Science School in Melbourne, Australia. Now, those people with us today who came to Australia in 2019 will remember visiting John Monash Science School, a Victorian government school. And some of you there had the opportunity to meet Crystal DiNapoli. Crystal is an Indigenous Australian woman astronomer, and she's developed the most fantastic course on how Indigenous traditions, cultures and stories have helped to develop a deep understanding of how the world works. So the virtual science course will focus on Indigenous understanding of astronomy, celestial navigation and the sky. And Crystal's actually just published, she had a book launch this week on this very subject. So the course will support skills developed in the PNG Year 11 STEM curriculum, and it'll be really fantastic for both PNG and Australian students to learn more about Indigenous understanding of astronomy with Crystal DiNapoli. Okay, so Sophie and Nicole, I'm going to pass over to you for collaborative projects.
Thank you, Kathy. So I'll start us off with the collaborative projects delivered in term 1, and then I'm going to hand over to Sophie, who will cover the remaining 5 projects delivered throughout the year. So in term 1, we have 3 collaborative projects to kickstart the year. So these are designed to be really fun and engaging and really create an opportunity for PNG and Australian schools to connect in the same virtual space and be able to collaborate and communicate on a shared project. So firstly, to start off this year is Foto Friendships, which will be launching today. It is a really light touch project that students, like Kathy said, can start today and really champion themselves as well. And so it supports them to become photojournalists and really share a snapshot into what it's like to be a student in everyday life, sharing about their culture, their family, and natural environment. And for this activity, we're excited to have re-engaged and connected with Australia Film, Television and Radio School, who are with us today. And you may recall they developed the Media Lab storytelling activity last year that a lot of the schools responded to. So we'll be hearing from them shortly to provide all the information about this activity and let you know how to get started. For those of you who are more interested in the STEM and humanities focused activities, we have Exploring Our World, which is looking at how to use Google Earth. So this activity includes a range of workbook activities that guide students to explore, understand, and tell stories about our planet and their local context using Google Earth. And the workbooks use real-world examples in PNG and Australia, notably the Kokoda Track campaign, and also integrating the 360 images that were captured in PNG in 2019, which are all available in Street View in Google. So excited to see them in the workbooks. For this activity, there's also teacher guides, a comprehensive Google Earth manual, and some online workshops to follow along with starting next week. And so there's no prior knowledge or experience required for Google Earth. So you can, this will support you however you need. And the final collaborative project in Term 1 is We Change the World. And so we're partnering with the National Gallery of Victoria and PNG National Museum and Art Gallery, who will deliver a really hands-on creative arts activity for students. And so the project looks at how art and design can influence change, and the project will support students to create a collaborative project, poster project that draws upon what's happening in their own community and the world more broadly as well. So that's really just a snapshot on what's on offer in Term 1. And I'll now hand over to Sophie to do the remaining collaborative activities.
Thanks, Nicole. So continuing with our Code Blue and Spotlight on the collaborative activities. In Term 2, we're delighted to offer another activity developed by our friends with AFTRS, the Student Reporters activity. And really, that's a great opportunity for all budding journalists out there who perhaps have a passion for telling stories or perhaps even writing reports using different mediums. This activity is about developing media literacy, and it would be a great project to undertake following the Foto Friendships Poro Piksa in Term 1. We continue with our STEM focus in Term 2 and going into Term 3, and the Pulse Check Data Science collaborative project is for all you maths nerds out there. We know you're there. This very much has a maths focus and will involve students collaborating to analyse and present data. They'll be guided on how to develop, conduct and analyse a survey. Students will then be asked to present a short video on their survey results and prepare a set of actions. And this activity, Pulse Check Data Science, is a great one we recommend students undertake prior to perhaps undertaking the citizen scientist activity, learning activity that was just described by Kathy Kirby. The next activity that we'll be rolling out in term 3 is going to be similar to the climate resilience design sprint that we delivered in August last year. Many of you will recall that. We had 17 schools participate on that day. It was a synchronous design sprint session with a focus on storms. Well, this year we're proposing to facilitate a similar activity, but this time with a focus on growing food for the future. And we're going to do that in partnership with the Crawford Fund, who've got some great resources and will support the delivery of that all-day activity for schools. We'll continue into term 3, term 4 with another all-day commitment with a focus on ethics and artificial intelligence. This activity is being developed in partnership with Education Services Australia, and we're organising to provide students with access to a short course that focuses on artificial intelligence prior to them participating in an interactive online youth forum. And that's for PNG and Australian schools with a focus on the ethics of artificial intelligence, which I believe is part or a focus of the new PNG STEM curriculum. And finally, again in term 4, we're offering a project that connects with the design sprint I mentioned earlier, with a focus on growing food for the future. And so this is another connecting activity that will be developed again in partnership with the Crawford Fund, and will be guided and supported by the Crawford Fund and the Asia Education Foundation. So some fabulous opportunities there, and really just wanting to take a moment here to highlight, as we develop these activities, as we've come up with I guess a holistic approach to what we're delivering through to 2023, we are identifying where activities connect, and there are links, and those 3 sets there are the first of probably several that we have identified a bit of a connection or a flow through. And perhaps when you consider that, that will help you to identify which team members are going to do what as we go forward. So lots of linkages there. And of course, with all these learning and collaborative activities, they're very much about growing the links between Australia and PNG, as has been said before. They're about increasing intercultural understanding, encouraging inclusion, building leadership, and in some cases, even increasing COVID awareness. We're very much looking forward to your enthusiastic and creative participation. I'm going to hand back to Nicole now, who's going to just briefly highlight the key tools and support for undertaking these activities. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Sophie. And so bit of feedback, there we go. So throughout phase 2, there are a lot of tools and people in place to support you and help you get all the information you need throughout the phase 2, which have been built on for the last few years. So using those same things that everyone's familiar with. So particularly for communication and how you should expect to receive any reminders and key updates, we'll predominantly be using WhatsApp group chats and using 2 existing group chats that are already established. So we will provide you with the details for that if you're not already in the group chats, and so you can start receiving that information and get chatting in there. We will also be continuing with Talk Survey, which is a fortnightly newsletter that just recommenced last week. You might have seen that hit your inbox. And this shares all the key updates, activity highlights, and stories from the initiative that we like to highlight throughout the year. In terms of where to find information, there is the PAS site, which is really the central hub for all the key information you need about the initiative and the activities on offer. And within the PAS site, you can see the Learning Bank tab up here that Kathy had touched on, which we'll be using for ongoing resource sharing and tools and curriculum resources for teachers and students. So for any information, this is an excellent place to start, but if you're having any trouble finding anything, just reach out to the team and we can point you in the right direction. And lastly, for learning, we will be using the PAS Google Classroom, which will be the online platform for distributing and submitting activity works in the PAS projects and activities. And so it will really break down each learning activity into simple stages that you can follow along, and will be where presenters and students will be able to share files and ask any questions about the activity. So if you haven't joined already, we will share the joining link in the chat, and you can join from there. So I'm now going to hand over to Junior, who is going to introduce the next part of the launch with Foto Friendships.
Thank you, Nicole. Now I'm going to introduce the team from the Australian Film, Television and Radio School. We have Marissa Chiampi, the project lead, and George Coles, who are here, and then they will run us through their presentation. So I'm going to hand it over to Marissa. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Marissa Campy and I work for the Australian Film, Television and Radio School. AFTRS is the premier Australian Screen Arts and Broadcast School, and specifically within our First Nations and Outreach Division, we really focus and aim to foster diversity and inclusion in the screen sector, not just throughout our school, but also within our local communities and across the industry as a whole. So as Nicole mentioned, we worked with the PAS team in 2021 to deliver the storytelling course for high school students across PNG. And we have now signed on to deliver 2 additional activities as part of phase 2, one of which we are launching today, right now, called Foto Friendships, Poro Piksa. And I'll hand over to my colleague George Coles now, who will run us through and present on this new student activity. Thanks, George.
So what we've developed is a resource for you guys, just to break down on what this activity is, Foto Friendships, and how you can start to approach it. Like I said, you can start doing it pretty immediately. So once you're able to access the document, which you will be able to today, right? Like you guys are going to be able to access it. We've broken down kind of a summary overview of how it's going to work, how to download this app. Okay, so basically what this is, it's an exchange activity. So you get partner school students share a collection of images, adding up to a story about their day, their day-to-day lives, whether that's a school, family, or their natural environment. And then you can share this with your partner school participants. So as you can see there, we've got our themes and objectives. We've also got a breakdown on how you can download it. But what we're hoping that you get from this resource is ideally how to tell a story. So we want you to ask yourself, what does a photo or video mean to you? And specifically, what am I trying to say and why am I trying to say it? When telling a story, we need to ensure our meaning is clear, because unlike text, images need to be interpreted. And with our 1 second every day, we want to make sure that those meanings come through very clear, very quickly. So when you're filming or taking a photograph, be aware of what's happening in the background as well as what's happening in front of you. and start thinking about how you're going to start approaching things. I think the idea here is just to keep in mind that storytelling is a key tool for us to use, and photos and videos is a great thing that we can use to tell those stories. We've also included some, I guess, breakdowns on how you can look at different styles as well as shots. So you can look at how to do extreme close-ups, mid-shots and wide shots, and why you're using those different elements. Whether or not it's to have dialogue, be aware of sound, or if you're wanting to show the environment, getting a better idea of place. So we're looking at here, we've got our 2-camera, observational, and point of view. There are different kind of ways that you can approach this, things that you want to start thinking of ahead of time. So you can have, whether or not you're talking to friends, you're doing the story completely from your point of view so that people can see your perspective of the world, or observational, whether you want to take a step back and approach this from more of a documentary kind of way of how you're going to tell your stories. Some other considerations that you can have is sound and the creative use of sound, whether that's music or narration, how you're going to tell this story in such a short amount of time. So for our themes, we wanted to make sure that there were some very good universal themes, things that you can tie in with other curriculums, whether that's family, natural environment, or school. So with our natural environment, for instance, we can use the Zoos Australia, for example, whether you want to take photos of like birds or something and tie that in that way. It would be really interesting to be able to see all of our diverse natural environments, and that's just one way that we can approach it. With school, that's another way we can do this, especially with the partnerships. We can have a look at how it's different or similar in both ways, especially with different schools coming from different states and different countries. So as you can see, we've got a bit of a resource kind of piled together for you guys. Take a read at it. We've got a lot of different breakdowns in there. It's originally was going to be 2 pages, but it ended up being 7, so we're sorry about that. But have a read, let us know what you think, and if you need anything, we're here.
Thank you, Georgia. What an exciting project Foto Friendships is shaping up to be. Thank you to everybody for your participation in today's launch. I know that it's the start of the school year both in Papua New Guinea and Australia alike, so we really appreciate that you've taken the time to be here with us today. I'd like to give a special shout out to the Australian Film, Television and Radio School team for supporting our launch through the Foto Friendships activity, which looks like a great start to our year. And also thank our special guests, Miriam Camaso from the Australian High Commission and Benny Rayapan, who's the Director, Secondary Education Management and Coordination, General Education Services Division at the Department of Education, for their support of the event. I am sure you will agree that we've had an incredible program with numerous exciting and enriching activities available to you this year. And I encourage you to take the time to look at the detailed activity plans on the PASS website so you can think about how you can build these activities into your school year and which are the most appropriate activities for each member of your team. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or concerns about the program, please reach out to one of the team. And finally, to take us out today, let's take a look back at some of the wonderful things we've achieved together as part of this program in 2021 with a short video of the Climate Design Sprint. We really look forward to working with you in 2022.
Hundred 120 students and teachers from 18 schools across Papua New Guinea and Australia have collaborated online for a one-day climate resilience design sprint.
Well, climate change is the single greatest challenge that we face. We face this challenge together.
Participants in the design sprint develop STEM capabilities and digital literacy skills by exploring what it means to be a healthy and resilient community in the face of climate change.
These skills that you will learn will really empower you to be confident about being creative and sharing your ideas amongst your peers and community.
Using design thinking principles, school teams collaborated to create prototype solutions to mitigate the impact of storms.
The gabion walls will be constructed on both sides of the river to direct the flow of river when it floods.
Welcome to PEAK. Preparation, Emergency, Assistance, Kits.
When the water gets flooded, you want to build outlets at the side of the waters. As you can see, these outlets that would absorb the excess water.
We'll have 2 reservoirs, one for the water coming from the river and the other for the rainwater.
The ideas that we heard were absolutely amazing and inspiring. Such a testament to the creativity in developing these innovative and exciting solutions.